My next one is going to be linen. So this one, right off the bat, stays on fire longer. It burns a lot more. It's actually still burning. And it does have like kind of a sweeter scent to it from when it does like burn. Yeah, definitely like a sweeter smell. The ash, it looks gray when it is burnt. It's grayer compared to the other two, as well as it's not as like crunchy feeling when you're like pressing on it a little bit with the tongs. Here is the man-made fiber. This is acetate. So it kind of shrivels up when it's on fire compared to like silk and wool. Yeah, it like shrinks. Funnily enough, it is still keeping the flame compared to the linen. And it does have that same burn smell too. The residue kind of just disappears as well. The next one is going to be rayon. I put the fan on because the smell was getting a little strong. Okay, so it doesn't catch on fire, but it looks like it does like immediately melt. Yeah, and it doesn't look like there's any residue left from the burn test either. The next one and the last one for the burn test is going to be the polyester. Okay, this one did catch light. Oh, and when I put it in, immediately, oh wow, okay. Immediately, it has a sweet smell to it. It smells like, almost like when you're, like fireworks almost. When I tried to pick it up so I could light it again, it did kind of stretch from the, I'm guessing it was from the plastics it's made out of. It even left a little bit of a dye spot from the red dye that was used. The next test I'm going to be doing is going to be the chemical test. So this right here I have is nail polish remover, aka acetone. So this is, I'm going to take the linen and drop it in there, see if there's any immediate reactions. It doesn't look like anything so far. I'm going to leave it in there for a couple of minutes and come back to it later to see if there's any type of reactions to it. The next fiber I have is silk, so I'm just going to drop that in there. There's no immediate kind of reaction, so I'm just going to let it sit in there for a little bit and see what happens if there's any type of reaction. So I've come back to the linen after 5 minutes, and it looks like there was no type of residual or anything like to happen to it. The next natural fiber test I'm going to be doing in acetone is going to be the wool. I'm going to drop that in there. There's no immediate kind of reaction, so I'm just going to let it sit there for a little bit. So it's been about 5 minutes since I let the silk stay in the acetone, and it looks like there was no type of reaction to it. Next onto the man-made fibers, I'm going to be doing polyester for the first one. So immediately it looks like the acetone is taking out the dye from the polyester. I'm not sure how well you can see it on camera. There we go. Yeah, immediately the dye is coming off from the polyester. I'm going to let that sit for a little bit and see if there's any visible effects with the fiber itself. So far though, I don't really see anything with the fibers, more so with the dye. So coming back to the wool, it doesn't look like there's any visual difference between it. The only thing I would say is maybe curling or fraying of the ends, but I'm pretty sure that's due to the weave itself and how the weave basically gives it kind of a more curly texture. Yeah, there's no visible difference between the wool. The next test I will be doing is on the acetate. This one I am a little excited for, since in the previous videos we did see it kind of immediately disintegrate, so I am looking forward to this one. No immediate reaction. It does, okay, yeah, it is kind of falling apart. I'm gonna let that sit for a little bit and then I'll come back to it. So with the polyester, I've let it sit for 5 minutes. The acetone, which is originally blue, has kind of turned into this purplish reddish color, thanks to the dye from the polyester, I believe. As for the fibers, I don't see any type of disintegration on that part. So for my last and final test with the acetone, I'm going to be doing nylon, so I'm just going to drop it in there. I don't think there's going to be anything to happen to it, but we'll see. It does kind of blend in though with the water, with the acetone. So I'm just going to let it sit in there for a little bit. So I've let the I let the acetate sit in the acetone for a little while, and it is kind of turning transparent a little bit. The water, the acetone's dye, natural dye from the acetone, is kind of turning a greenish hue. I think that's from the dye from the actual acetate, but yeah, it's basically falling apart. And it's, ooh, yeah, wow. Yeah, it's turning kind of into like it's like disintegrating. I'm going to start with the bleach testing. Right here I have my linen, and I'm just going to drop that in. There isn't any immediate reaction, so I will wait a couple of minutes and come back with any results I find. So it's been about 5 minutes letting the nylon sit in the acetone. Even though you can't really see on camera, it is right here. I don't see any kind of immediate or like change in the nylon. Let me see if I can, there we go. I would say it became more transparent, but I believe that's just because it was steeped in the acetone, and it's kind of a liquid, so I would say that's probably why, but other than that, I don't see any visible change. So here I have my wool. I'm just gonna steep that in it. There's no immediate, oh, okay. That's interesting. Okay. I'll leave that in there for a little bit and come back to check on it. But there is kind of like this substance that came out of the wool, so I'll see. So I've let the linen sit, and kind of like I thought, there's no real change in it. So, oops. It's just wet with the bleach, so there's no real change. So I have my silk here. Some of the filaments accidentally came apart, but I'm just gonna drop it in there, and there's no immediate reaction, so I will just let that sit in here for a while. So I'm back with the bleach, and I've let it sit for a while, and it looks like it's possible that it was dyed. I thought the wool was naturally dyed, but the dye is coming off, and it looks like it's kind of falling apart. Okay. Oops, okay. So I have my nylon here. I'm gonna submerge this in the bleach, and there's no immediate reaction. I can't even see anymore just because the bleach is so thick. So I'm just gonna let that sit in there for a while. So I've let the silk stay in there. It looks like it kind of has this like residue around it. It looks like a cloudy like residue. Ooh, yeah. Compared to all the other fibers that did the bleach test, the silk is definitely a little bit more like, I wouldn't say flopping looking, but it's a little bit more, it's like disintegrating a little bit with the bleach. So for my next man-made fiber, I am going to be doing polyester. I think that the dye is most likely going to come off pretty quickly, but I don't know how the fibers will react to the bleach, so we'll see. It doesn't look like there's an immediate reaction, so I'll let it sit for a little bit. So coming back to the nylon, I can't even see it in here, so let me, okay, there it is. It doesn't look like there's any type of reaction from the nylon when it was soaked in the bleach. So my last and final test for the chemical test and for the bleach is going to be the acetate. I'm not too sure how it's going to react since it did immediately kind of shrivel up in the acetone, but I will be back in a couple minutes to come check how it's doing. Surprisingly, with the polyester, I've let it sit for a couple minutes. The dye hasn't come off as much as the dye did for the wool or the silk. So I'm kind of surprised about that. Let me see if I mixed around if there's any type of like dye residue to come off. And no, there isn't. And the polyester seems pretty resilient towards the bleach. Okay, well there's a little bit of dye coming off now. But it happened with agitation, so. Next up is going to be the silk. The silk doesn't look like, oh, okay. So it burns really quickly with almost like a, like it just goes up in flame really quickly compared to the wool. It is kind of crunchy. It did have a specific smell. It smelled kind of like how when you go to the dentist and you're getting your teeth filled, it has a specific smell similar to that. The ash is black. It is pretty crunchy too.